is training nothing less than 700,000 youths.
Wow.
In all their 23 provinces,
Yeah.
in vocational training. So what is needed at this point is the president or the governors of the 30 states in Nigeria, they need to create what I call a bilateral cooperation with a company called China.
Yeah.
That's the lasting measure, to facilitate trade and commerce, especially in the area of vocational studies. Yes, whereby there will be vocational study centers in all local governments, whereby people will be trained in areas like manufacturing, manufacturing, engineering, information technology, automotive, energy, healthcare, tourism, and services, and transportation.
Yeah.
Yes. So once this is in place, I'm telling you, in the next 1 year, we will experience transformation. And Nigeria government or the governors, they don't need to spend much funds on this project. It's just engaging the Chinese government. Okay, send us your vocational studies program, specialists and entourage.
Yeah.
Oh, we will take care of your accommodation. Okay, we have centers. Yeah. Okay, in all our local governments. So help us in the next 6 months, trains some set of people that will be appointed, a committee. Okay, train them on this thing, on a vocational training program. By the time this thing is put in place, I'm telling you, in the next 1 year, it will enhance job creativity, job creation, then and productivity and innovation among the youths.
Yeah,
people will no longer protest. Yes, people will have jobs. China now, they are producing. So when we are producing, also manufacturing like this now, we will be able to engage in commercial activities with all other African countries.
Yeah, export.
Yeah, you can see economy will bloom.
Yeah.
So we don't need to be depending as a country on only fuel alone, the subsidy. So this is an era where we need to create a new national income. So that is what we're saying. So that's one of the measures.
Yeah, so do you want to touch on another measure? Because that's actually an excellent idea.
Yes. Okay, now I think we call this one episode 1. This is one thing I believe. I told you, as an organization, we study political trends, economic trends for the provision of innovations and initiatives in national development and growth. So this one is very deep, it's very powerful. I will still have about 5, that we have, but
so you're just going to give us a few.
I can call this one an episode 1.
Okay.
Yes, let's be talking. Yes.
Okay.
This is a very brilliant idea.
Yes.
So that is it.
Okay. Well, I actually think that's actually an excellent idea, like you said, because job creation for the youth and ways for them to involve themselves in learning, and the global world out there, things are changing.
Yes.
There's digitization, there's AI technology, and there's so much for us out there that we can actually latch onto. So, before we get to taking those measures and putting them in place, as you know, there's so much challenges for the average everyday Nigerian, and you study economies. How do you think the Nigerian person in these trying times, what advice do you have for the average Nigerian?
Okay, my advice for the average Nigerian in this era is just to be patriotic. Nigeria should not, because of the government have removed the first subsidy, not take a loss into their hand and say, okay, I will go into kidnapping, I will start doing an internet fraud.
Yeah.
No, you have to take responsibility on your own. Change begins with you.
Yeah.
Be patriotic. People are complaining, they are protesting. Meanwhile, we have a team in this organization. We are busy on a daily basis on how we can, provide initiatives, innovations for governments, for corporate bodies.
Yeah.
So get yourself in something meaningful. Whatever comes your way in this period, manage it. Yes, be creative.
Build yourself.
And thank you. While you wait. It's very, very important. That is, be patriotic. Get involved in national discourse. Yes, that is it.
And if somebody wants to reach out to you, how else can they because you said you have ideas, you have different ways, and how do we reach out to you?
Okay, thank you. Our website is in place, www.nationbuilderdii.org.
Okay.
Yes, that's Dayspring Intelligence International.
Okay.
www.nationbuilderdii.org.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, do you want to say anything on a final note before we wrap up?
Okay. There are still solutions to every problem. There are solutions. So it's not enough for you as a Nigerian citizen to be complaining. You also come up with a solution, an idea, and provide it. I think that's the only way forward. Yes. I think another thing is that the creation of a center whereby the government will be looking for people, think tanks. Yes. People who have innovation, something that is significant to national growth and development. I think it's very, very important. Our leaders should not be focusing on politics or politicizing every aspect of the economy. They should look down to the grassroots and say, okay, who are the people that can be empowered, whose idea can be meaningful, can be useful in national development. I think they will do well as politicians.
That's a wonderful note to end on. Thank you so much, Mr. Adekunle Adeleke, for sharing your wisdom with us today, and you have infused my patriotism even more. So let's all come together and remember that we're all Nigerians and we want what is better for our country. Well, you have heard from our expert, and I hope that has urged you to be more patriotic. Let's remember that as Nigerians, we have to come together to build our nation. And as you know, with the fuel subsidy, that there are things that are put in place that will hopefully make our lives better and easier on a daily basis. The program continues after this. Well, I hope that you enjoyed those tips, and with that we've come to the end of today's program. I hope you had a wonderful time with me. Let's remember that whatever challenges we're facing, this too shall pass. So hopefully we'll come out better on the other side. I hope that it will urge you to be more sustainable in your choices, and of course with that we can be more patriotic as Nigerian citizens all over. And I hope you'll join me for another interesting episode of Window on Abuja. Until then, I am Maimuna Ummi Ibrahim. See you next time.
need to point out a friend. It is obvious because of a great bond in between. But what happens when that bond is broken? The opposite is often ignited. Hate and acrimony brew. This could easily have been averted if we showed love and care ab initio. This is the story of man and man's best friend, the dog, and other pet animals. Do we deserve to be called their friends? How do we feel them? How do we feel them? Hey, all the pet owners and pet lovers, get in the house this Wednesday, 25th of September 2024, and let's have that talk about you and your pet animal. Only on Conversations. Time is 9 a.m. Conversations, reaching you on the network service of the NTA. Join us.
Although social media as a channel of communication is inherently harmless, it becomes harmful and damaging when used without discretion and thoughtfulness. Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, reflect, and verify information before sharing it. Be a good social media user. Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source and use social media responsibly for a better Nigeria. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency.
Cholera is a serious bacterial infection. People become sick when they eat food or drink water contaminated by the bacteria Vibrio cholerae. The symptoms are severe diarrhea, dehydration, and even death if it is not properly treated. Here is how you can keep yourself and your family safe from cholera. Drink only clean, safe water at all times. Maintain excellent hand hygiene by using water and soap to wash your hands at all times, especially before you eat or after you go to the toilet. And if you don't have access to clean water when you need it, you can use alcohol-based sanitizers. Avoid eating from unhygienic food vendors. Cook your food thoroughly and, of course, wash your fruits and vegetables thoroughly before you eat them. If you or anyone you know becomes sick with diarrhea or vomiting, seek medical help immediately by going to the nearest health facility because prompt treatment saves lives. Stay informed, stay safe, and protect our communities from cholera.
This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
It's going well, but here comes Okabari and Jet Okabari. Takes it, tucks it, buries it!
From the football prowess of Kano Nwankwo to the track dominance of Blessing Okagbari, Nigerian athletes continue to excel. Chioma Ajunwa, the first Nigerian woman to win an Olympic gold medal.
Applying the pressure from the rest and trying to come back at Amuzan taking it. Amuzan, well, getting consolation there.
Join us as we witness the determination, resilience, and passion.
No, it goes in. Scoofet unlucky, but it's that old combination from last season.
This is the most outstanding, the best woman football player on the African continent. Asisat Oshuala.
Great ball, Musa!
Cheer on our sporting heroes as we celebrate their remarkable achievements on the global stage.
Running by Victor Moses, and the finish, well, speaks for itself. Wonderful strike, and Nigeria lead by a goal to nil. Musa Went for the curler, hits the crossbar this time.
The mosaic of time in the kaleidoscope of life. Time is a masterpiece.
Federal Executive Council approves Committee for Disaster Relief Fund.
That's in the process of delivery. Half of it has already been delivered and the delivery is ongoing.
Minister of Foreign Affairs advocates extension of deadline for SDG's 2030 agenda.
Countries in the global north must do more to support sustainable development in the global south. We're optimistic that these targets can be met.
National Assembly resumes plenary today after annual recess.
We're ready to begin the processing of 2025 appropriation bill.
And a good morning, Nigeria. Today, we shall focus on managing election victory.
All right, the people of Edo State, Saturday, 21st September 2024, took to the polls to elect the next governor who would steer the ship, the affairs of the state for the next 4 years.
Oh yes, the election was heralded by heightened political tension and charged rhetoric, with three main contenders vying for the top job. Aswelime Ighodalo of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Monday Okwebolo of the All Progressives Congress, APC, and of course Olumide Akpata of the Labour Party.
And the campaigns were not without controversy, with allegations of disinformation and information manipulation aimed at undermining rival opponents.
At the end of the exercise, the collation and returning officer for the Edo governorship election, Professor Farouk Adamu Kuta, declared Senator Monday Okwebolo of the All Progressives Congress winner of the election.
Now, Senator Okwebolo won with a total vote of 291,667, defeating Aswe Ighodalo of PDP, who polled 247,274, and Labour Party's Olumide Akpata, who came a distant third with 20,763 votes.
Beyond the numbers, what do the results mean for the people of Edo State? Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria this Tuesday as we focus on managing election victory. I'm Henry John.
And I'm Victor Azu. It's good to know that you're always there waiting for us to serve you that which we bring to you on Good Morning Nigeria.
All right. Of course, in the course of this program, reaching you live with the network service of the NTA, and we're transmitting at the headquarters in Abuja. We would bring you newspaper review. Chukwudi Okoli Ogbaja will join us, of course, for that. But for now, let's join Frama Pine for the morning news. Frama, good morning to you.
Good morning, Yenre. Good morning, Victor. Good morning, Nigerians. Here is the morning news. The Federal Executive Council, FEC, has approved the constitution of a committee to pioneer takeoff of the National Relief Fund aimed at catering for victims of disaster in the country. That came as one of the decisions taken at the Council's meeting this Monday.
After Mr. President's visit, he also approved the immediate release from the National Strategic Reserve of 100 trailers of rice, 50 trailers of maize, 30 trailers of sorghum, and 20 trailers of millet. And that's in the process of delivery. Half of it has already been delivered, and the delivery is ongoing.
National orientation is set to begin a nationwide program to revitalize the core national values of the country that are currently facing decadence. This follows approvals just granted to the ministry by the Federal Executive Council. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, who announced the approvals after the meeting of the council, says it will enable the ministry and its agencies to begin measures to strengthen the core national values across the primary and secondary schools, institution of the National Value Charter, as well as the standardization of national symbols.
Brigade will be established not just in primary schools, in secondary schools across this country. Now, this will also help to create the ambassadors of Nigerian values that this country seeks to have.
And Nigeria participation at the 79th session of the ongoing United Nations General Assembly recorded success with the support of the United States Chamber of Commerce with a commitment of about $320 million. Vice President Kashim Shettima reaffirmed Tinubu administration's commitment towards mortgage refinancing and women empowerment at a meeting with other members of Nigeria's delegation to strategize on Nigeria's engagement in New York. And the National Assembly will resume plenary Tuesday, September 24th, 2024, after about 2 months of recess, punctuated by oversight functions and other legislative activities.
The issue of recess is not for the parliament to go and rest, but it's for them to even work more by engaging people, by seeing by ourselves what the agencies, ministry and department are doing.
We are ready to begin the processing of the 2025 appropriation bill.
Now, the Organization of African First Ladies for Development, OFLAD, has taken its campaign for inclusive education to the global stage, where it called on African government to commit towards universal school meals coverage. This was at a round-table lunch hosted by Rockefeller Foundation and OFLAD on the margins of the 79th United Nations General Assembly in New York. Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, signed a call to action alongside other members of OFLAD, reaffirming the country's readiness to promote enrollment with school feeding.
Emergency on agriculture, food security. We have to make sure that we're able to grow some food. So with that, the school feeding in Nigeria is being reviewed.
And those are the highlights of the news at this time. Good morning, Nigeria continues with Yenre and Victor after the commercial break. Please don't go away.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we sway in color, we turn dark into light, we make solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Education is unique, we know more than the solution.
We are Nigeria, we are Nigeria, strength in unity, we know they carry life. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
A new edition of TV Guide is out.
This time,
we got up close and personal with the transformational legislator, the Deputy President of the Senate, distinguished Senator Barrel Dubreen.
We've created a difference in terms of representation through interventions that have brought an unprecedented infrastructural development to my area.
This edition is a compendium of mind-blowing stories for your reading pleasure, ranging from technology, entertainment, economy, media, politics, family, and lots more.
It is indeed a park of excitement as we take you through every aspect of life. Pick up your copy and get abreast with issues and trending features within our space.
TV Guide, very incisive, very educative and compelling. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
We all get that party where they get your back anytime or day. E go carry a matter for head like say na your own. Now so Go TV tanda for your side as your party for correct enjoyment. We not a tear pocket. For this Go TV Super Plus Golden Window, you fit touchlight all the 380 Premier League games, correct local shows, and better film. We day for you. Make your sharply upgrade or recharge your Go TV on top Super Plus to enjoy every today. The Super Plus Golden Window don't come out money now. Not do yourself, oh. Go TV. Love it.
We must all join hands to work hard so that we build a country for our grandchildren.
My hope is that we develop as a nation where every citizen is given his due right. There is transparency, honesty, and integrity.
Put the interests of this country first and foremost. Interest of Nigeria is being one nation, one people.
The need, if I mean, to put things right, things that have gone wrong before, to try and put right, for this, for the love of country.
The race to qualify for the biggest football competition in Africa is on, the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. 48 teams in 12 groups, with only the top 2 teams in each group qualifying for the African Cup of Nations in 2025 in Morocco. Don't miss the action, suspense and unrivaled coverage on AfroSport TV and its affiliates partners across Nigeria, starting from September 2024 to November 2024. AfroSport, your freedom of sport.
All right, thanks for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria. And up next is Newspaper Review.
All right, Chukwudi Okoli-Ugbaja is here with us again. Good morning to you, sir. Good to see you.
I am present, ma'am. How are you doing?
You're welcome. Very well.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Hello, Victor.
Good
Good morning on a cold morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
If I saw only your head, I would say, is that a leopard or something?
If you saw only my head,
yes.
You ask whether it's a leopard.
Only that top, I'll say, is this a leopard?
You mean my hair is turning grey at a
your cap, your cap.
The headgear.
Oh, the cap.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was going to get furious. Good to see you guys.
All right, let's see what the papers have this morning. Let's begin with the New Telegraph newspaper. And the lead story here is on flooding. It says FEC sets up committee to reassess Allow Dam. Others, floods disaster relief fund. The riders, government advises residents of flood-prone areas to leave as River Benue water level rises to 0.9 meters. The U.S. offers support to 67,000 flood victims in Borno as AU okays £5.4 million aid to victims in Nigeria and 4 other countries. All right, away from all of that, above the lead story, just below the masthead, we have previous administration never thought it wise to develop FCT satellite towns. That's according to Wike. As FEC approves Maitama 2, others development, okays 40 houses for judges. All right, that's on page 2. And court dismisses suit seeking Ganduje's sack as APC chair. You can also read that up on page 2. Moving to page 29, you can find this there. Federal government approves National Citizens Value Brigade in schools. National symbols standardization. You want to find out what that is all about. Page 29 has that, of course. Let's look beside the picture story. On the front page of the New Telegraph this morning, we have vote buying, no end in sight to conquer war. That's on page 9. Monkeys save 6-year-old from sexual assault. Interesting. Page 28 has that. And National Assembly plans joint probe of economic sabotage in petroleum sector. You can see that on page 26. And quickly on Edo Guba, we have will test judiciary's preparedness, says PDP. Calls on INEC to review results, poll an example of state capture. That's according to Obi. Results manipulated, Yaga Africa alleges. We did everything to win Edo election, according to APC. Play to Kwebolo, Lord Tinubu for commitment to electoral process. And on the 79th UNGA, which is currently ongoing, Nigeria demands permanent Security Council seats for Africa once African standby force operationalized. So that's it from the New Telegraph. Quickly, let's see what the People's Daily has. The People's Daily leads with Kaduna government. That's the kicker to this story, if you like, the headline. Notorious bandit leader Kachala Shame orders killed in gang clash. Above that, Northern APC court dismisses suit seeking Ganduje's removal as APC chairman. Edo Guba, PDP rejects result, vows to take firm steps to retrieve mandate. All right, let's see how that goes. And then below the picture story, ONGA 79, Nigeria makes fresh case for UN Security Council seat. And some other few stories at the bottom of the front page of the People's Daily this morning. Quickly, Saudi Arabia at 98th National Day celebrates bilateral ties with Nigeria. And finally, Hippo kills Yori Emir's guard in Kebbi. Victor.
All right, thank you, Yemre. And I have the Daily Trust. And apart from some of the headlines Yemre already read from other dailies, below the nameplate, Israeli strikes kill 356 in Lebanon. That story is on page 5. CBN moves to replace sacked directors, page 37. Pastoralists allege plot to stop livestock ministry, page 3. And then the major story here, Samoa agreement. Ombudsman asks Daily Trust to apologize. Says newspaper's story inaccurate, FG's handling poor. And praises complainant, respondent for voluntary submission. Seifu report on pages 29, 30, and 31. All right, and towards the bottom here, conflict of interests stalling constituency projects. That's according to EFCC and the ICPC. For details, read page 6. And finally, on the bottom strip, 70 polio variants recorded in 14 northern states. That's according to the FG, page 3. Chukwude.
Thank you, Victor. You can see I'm still writing UTME, furiously. Because I just saw something. FG to establish National Citizens Value Brigade in schools.
Yeah, you already read that.
Yes, our values are taking a bad dip. They have dipped so ignominiously. We need to do something about our values. In fact, the typical Nigerian child now does not belong in heaven nor the other side. Not going to mention that name. So he's an anomie. He's an anomie. You won't say he's white, you won't say he's black. You don't know what his culture really is. So reintroducing our values is very important to me. I'm just giving it a perfunctory mention.
But what's the
there.
cause of the slum?
I think that the nuclear family should be blamed more than anyone else. There are still some parents whom you could meet outside and they tell them something, an upheaval is happening somewhere in town they say, no problem, my children won't be there. And their children truly are not there. So I think it is still the home that needs to begin to inculcate these values. But of course, the larger society, spearheaded by government agencies, NGOs, would also be part of reinforcing those values. We must retrace our steps from the precipice, because that's where we're
big
headed.
addition to that. I don't think that it's just the values that have dipped. I think education generally in the country has dipped as a whole. You know, so instead of focusing on just value, focus on how we can strengthen our education system and of course, you know, get back to the basics, having those in primary and secondary, which is, you know, the starter, you know, to actually get quality education. When I mean quality, we're not talking about private schools that are, you know, in every story building these days, but having the government schools, you know, get them up to standard.
Abroad is the government school
like they used to be, because I think that
get into
yes, because again, if teaching and learning is done properly in schools, I mean, values will be instilled naturally.
I agree with you. Actually, you start from the home, then you pass it on to
The situation
teachers.
where you get to schools, there are no teachers to teach. The children are roaming around the classes.
Yes.
You can scale the friends anytime you want and get into school.
And sometimes
I mean,
the teacher...
And when you say it begins from the home, sometimes you give what you have. You can't give what you don't have.
That's
so
it.
It's everywhere.
It was Reverend Father George Husani whom I said, look, parents are no longer inculcating in children some values we have. You know what the Reverend Father told me? Say, Chukudi, what if it is a case of you talking about parents who themselves need training? I didn't know where to go from there.
No, but that's the truth.
No, but away from parents, I know, yes, parents have a blame, but you see, like those days, if you're in a government school, there's a time you should be in school. If you're not there on time, you cut the grasses, you do something.
That's it.
That's you know, and then you get into class, your teacher is there, you're being taught. I mean, there's no way you would misbehave.
In my time, 7 strokes of the cane waited for you, or if you came late to school, you know.
Or you have a torn uniform or a dirty uniform.
Oh,
you get.
I thought you are, you know.
I'm not a Gen Z. I told you. I'm not a Gen Z.
You seem to be a little on our side. Bravo, Yere. That's a good one. UN Security Council. It consists of Britain, United States, Russia, China, and France, and they carry the veto power. Now, some of the nations called developing countries are angling for membership of the council, and I think it's about time too. It is not right that only 5 European powers should be having the final say on very thorny, crucial issues in world politics. So I think the argument we are making there is quite a good argument. The only problem is that even if they admit us into it, the Security Council, they are saying that we are not going to have any veto power. So it's almost a distinction without a difference. The 5 powers will still be the ones who could say no. One of them will just say no.
Yeah,
the
one
resolution
country can veto.
Yes.
Even if you decide and one country says no, well, that's no.
It's an unfair world. Life is never really fair, you know. But if you have a good disposition towards it, you'll get away with many things. Notorious bandit leader Kachala Sharma is said to have been killed, you know, in a gang clash. You know, God is even sowing the seed of discord among them because they have engaged in too much bloodletting that you don't know whether forgiveness is going to come easy. It's just that it's the good Lord, however dark your sin is, if you do repent, he accepts it. Before Jerry says, Pastor Chukudi, please, let's go to another, you know, issue there. Yeah.
And then pastoralists allege plot to stop livestock ministry. By who and why?
Let me say this again. If we develop livestock in this country to the level it should be developed, it will become a wonderful foreign exchange earner. It's not going to be to the benefit of the herders, the cattle owners only. So let us stop being petty. Somebody said when it was established, what about farmers and all that? You know how we talk in this country. Not only Yoruba, you want down for what of Igbo, what of Hausa, and we remain small when we keep on thinking like that. And it stems from the fact that we see a Yoruba man first, we see a Hausa man first, we see an Igbo man first, we see a Fulani man first, before we see a human being. That is the problem we have.
Well, but the good thing is that the Senate has said it's false and even satanic.
It's not even going to work.
And then the
It's been
president
established.
says
It's been
Tinubu
established.
has promised and will do it.
Oh, of course. That is even gossip. If I were the editor, I'm not going to include it in my lineup. But it's okay. Let's know the things to guard against, that there are people who may be trying to sabotage it. But I think the government has taken a bold step, creating the Ministry of Livestock, and it's very important. It's a big foreign exchange earner. Just look at what Alake and his team are doing in the mining sector. Did you know that Nigeria could get so much money from mining? Who was it the other time? Abacha's Mustafa, what was the name again?
Al-Mustafa.
Al-Mustafa. It said actually that part of the banditry stemmed from struggle over mining sites. We didn't know these things. So let us please leave what nature has given us in the hands of legitimate harnessing, so that the country will get better.
Country getting better. By the way, the people of Kogi have come out to say, rather, should I say the House of Assembly has come out to say that no money is missing in the state, and that the EFCC is simply witch-hunting the former governor. So they are asking for the immediate removal of the EFCC.
The more reason
chairman.
The former governor should pay a visit, and so that we lay all of this to rest.
Ododo and Bello. It's a long story, really, but because I don't engage in speculation, I've always wanted to be seen as the good journalist. Let's leave the matter there. But there are so many things that have happened that will lift your eyebrow, what is really happening. Bello is still roaming free at the end of the day. Anyway, it's the job of the EFCC constitutionally to do what they are doing. So that is side.
No, but if the state says nothing is missing, so where did the EFCC find its own case?
Are you from Kogi State?
Not exactly. I'm from Edo State, and yes, we have a new governor. So, and that's our topic of discussion. We'll be looking at how to manage election.
You have a new governor. PDP says they will meet APC in court over Edo election.
Well,
it's always the case.
When would we start congratulating winners in our elections?
If you think you have a case, you test it.
You're free to really.
You never know.
Yes.
If you can prove your case, it's good.
All right, let's see.
Why do I think that you deserve a cup of tea or coffee this morning?
Well,
is that what you want? So you want 10 liters of petrol?
I have this tendency to think that no one likes me.
Yeah,
so when you slot in something like this, I tend to smile foolishly. Because I'm
Chikwudi, I think you should tell him directly what you want, not a cup of tea. No, he wants just 10 liters of petrol. I think that's...
you can go get yourself.
Director, where's my minimum wage? I have made the request now.
Anyway, let Chukwudi go get a cup of coffee, so that when we return, we get on with a discussion on managing election victory. Please stay with us.
Can you flex your vocals for us?
It will.
It could be one of your songs, by the way.
People fall in love in mysterious ways.
So why do they call you Evil Child?
They called me that when I was in school. That was my nickname then in school.
Any reason in particular why they called you Evil Child?
Yeah, because I was actually one of the brilliant students.
Oh, say, mommy! That answer right there. You must be, if it's not this boy, problem. That means the people that answer this service, they have body odor. Hey.
NTA Television College Jos, with a pedigree of producing indelible professionals in the media space and an affiliate of the prestigious Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, for the award of degree in mass communication, calls on prospective candidates to leverage on the following courses it offers for 2024-2025 academic session. BSc Mass Communication, those with minimum admissible score of 180 and above who sat for the 2024 JAMB/UTME and direct entry, while 100 to 179 minimum admissible score can apply for the National Innovation Diploma NID in Film and Television Production, Broadcast Journalism and Television Engineering. For more inquiries, visit our website or call 0803-383-4343. Announcer, Registrar.
We all get that party where they get your back anytime or day. E go carry a matter for head like say na your own. Na so Go TV tanda for your side as your party for correct enjoyment. We not a tear pocket. For this Go TV Super Plus Golden Window, you fit touchlight all the 380 Premier League games, correct local shows, and better film. We day for you. Make your sharply upgrade or recharge your Go TV on top Super Plus to enjoy every today. The Super Plus Golden Window don't come out money now. No do yourself, oh. Go TV. Love it.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Nigeria means a lot to me.
And Nigeria means peaceful cohesion.
My country.
We continue to pray, and then hopefully we will come to understand that unity of purpose, unity of living together.
Our ethnic beliefs and background and culture is our strength.
Ever since the amalgamation period of 1914 to date, about 109 years ago, the people of Nigeria live very peacefully with one another.
I think diversity helps a lot to enhance robust development in Nigeria.
All over the country, you have so many ethnic groups, over 250. That is enough to tell you that this is a blessed country, and God has kept together as one indivisible entity.
If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. And to begin our conversation this morning, which is on managing election victory, let's quickly see this background report put together by our correspondent, Oyeyemi Ajayi.
Now, the Edo State governorship election has come and gone, with results declared in favor of Senator Monday Okpebolo of the All Progressives Congress, APC, after scoring 291,667 votes to defeat Asue Igodalo of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, who got 247,247 votes, and Olumide Apata of the Labour Party, who came in distant third in the race with 22,763 votes. 14 other candidates who contested the seats got less than the three frontline candidates. As expected, swords are being sheathed as everybody now know where they belong, and what is expected now is how to move the state forward. While congratulating the governor-elect, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in a statement by the special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga, urged him to gloat over his victory, but to see it as a challenging call to service, as it encourages him to demonstrate magnanimity by reaching out to his political rivals and uniting the people of Edo State to ensure its development. President Tinubu also praised other candidates who participated in the election for their contributions to advancing Nigeria's democracy, saying peaceful political contests, such as the one on Saturday, portray Nigeria as a stable democracy. The president urged all those aggrieved by the election outcome to seek redress through the legal channels. He also commended INEC and other security agencies for working round the clock to conduct a successful, peaceful, and largely hitch-free exercise. What next now that the elections are over? How can the governor-elect manage his election victory? Guests already seated will be answering these questions shortly.
All right, many thanks, Oyeyemi Ajayi, for that background report. And now joining us here in the studio for the conversation which borders on managing election victory. Let me welcome Professor Ikechukwu. Executive Director, Development Specs Academy. A pleasure to welcome you always. Good morning, Nigeria. I've also been joined here by Egbeola Martins, National Organizing Secretary, Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC. Yeah. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
All right, also joining us for the conversation about via Zoom, all the way from Kaduna State. It's a pleasure to have Muhammad Kabir. He's a professor of governance and development who is on sabbatical leave at the Department of Political Science, Nigeria Defense Academy, Kaduna, for the 2024-2025 academic session. Good to have you with us, Prof.
Good morning, Nigeria, and good morning to you in the studio. It's a pleasure to join you.
Great.
All right, let's begin from here in the studio. Prof, the Edo State election has come and gone, a winner declared, but of course, as almost always, the other parties are not in agreement with the outcome of that election. But then, that's a matter for the courts, should they decide to go to court. But what should be the disposition of the party or the candidate that has been declared winner to achieve, unity in the state, within the polity, and then to get straight to good governance? What should be the disposition of the candidate and the party?
Well, if you look at the difference in votes between the winner and the runner-up, it would almost be, you see that the margin is not so much. That means that there were a lot of people in the state who would have preferred the second, just like there were a lot who would have preferred the first. Therefore, triumphalism cannot be the approach. We've made it, we've won, everybody can see it, you start stomping around. You can't do that, because if you do a percentage thing, for every 10 people on your side, you have about 7 or 8 even not on your side. Therefore, you don't have the straight. What that means is that the winner has to be extremely cautious about the conduct of his supporters. He has to be extremely magnanimous and accommodating in his pronouncements. He has to be aware that you have a number of people, sufficient number, who are aggrieved and who right now don't believe he is won. But the fact is that a winner has been declared. The other fact is that in the electoral process, there are rules of engagement. One of them is that you register as a candidate sent by your party. You contest the elections. Election results are announced. When that is done, if you're not satisfied with the outcome, the legal provision is that you proceed to the next level of amelioration, which is to go to the courts. So that's the option left to them. But for the winner, inclusivity is a critical factor he needs to take into account at the moment, knowing his state. Edo State is a very enlightened state politically. It's a state where you don't take anything for granted, you don't take the people for granted. That part, even when it was Bendel State, it was always a peculiar demographic configuration. So when you have a keenly contested election and some people are not satisfied about it, you have nothing to celebrate except you can manage to secure the ground. So for the winner and for his supporters, this is a time to ask a couple of critical questions. What do we need to do to consolidate our victory? Not the announcement. The announcement is not the victory, but the management of the political environment and terrain will give you the victory. What do we do? Who are those we need to partner with? Are there concessions we need to make? Are there things we overlooked? Are there legal issues we should prepare for? So they should pull back from noisy celebration and look at, okay, we've got it. Can we really hold it? If we can hold it, who and who do we need to explain anything to? Who and who do we need to get onto our side? So this is a time for extreme caution, not a time to laugh in anybody's face. The whole circumstances of this election has generated a lot of things that will require a lot of political dexterity to be managed. And so for the governor-elect, look around you. Find out what you need to make good. But more critically, and I'll go back to that first point, if you look at the percentage between the winner and the person following him, and you have in this room 10 people
and use them as the ratio. 10 voted for you, maybe 8 didn't vote for you. You see that 10, they have only 2. So the man has a serious situation to manage, and he had better begin to find out how to do that before he's sworn in.
All right. Many thanks, Prof, for your opening remarks. But, you know, as regards the dual election and looking at the margin, if we want to cast our minds back to previous elections, the last 2 before this one, the margin has always been very slim. And, you know, in those cases, it was just a 2-horse race, like they would say. This one, some people say 3-horse race and all of that. So 2020, for example, it was just about 80-something thousand, you know, and then the previous one was just about 60-something thousand. So that has always been the case, you know, for a dual election. It's always a tight race, you know, between the APC and the PDP. But I'd like to find out from you, Martin Segbiola, because Prof says that the winner should be careful, should be cautious, because, you know, looking at the margin of lead and all of that. Well, you know the way politicians behave. In the coming weeks, you're going to see a lot of people defecting to the party that has just won and all of that. So, of course, that reduces the number of people who voted in the other party. Do you really think that, you know, the winner in this particular election, Edo State, has a lot to contend with?
Of course. I think taking it off from where the Prof started, you know, in trying to analyze the margin of victory, I also want to expatiate on that further. If you look at the number of PVC collected by the electorate, they achieved, on the average, over 80% collection rate.
85%.
Yes, 85 at least, over 80%. But however, if you had to do a comparative analysis in terms of the actual people that voted on the election day, you discover that we had less than 25%. So if you had to look at it, you know, look at the almost over 50% who did not vote. Imagine if they had come out to vote. That means there's this propensity to have what?
Where will the pendulum swing?
But this is not the first time.
I know it's not the first, but I'm just trying to bring to your understanding how leaders in this part of the world do, you know, emerges. Also at the national level, I think we have semblance of this same arrangement. And I think if there's anything, I would want the governor-elect to actually learn that there's a need for him not to gloat in victory. He should be able to find a point of convergence for all critical stakeholders in Edo State, especially if you are to do an analysis of how this whole thing, the build-up to the election, the tensions, accusations and counter-accusations, and the rest. You see, if you want to be able to have an impactful governance, what you need to do is to be able to bring all political forces together. Are you going to be able to get all of them? No, the answer is no. You may not be able to get all of them completely. But as much as possible, you reach out to everyone and see the need that Edo should come first. And that is what I will expect the governor to do. It should not be used to fight any proxy war, because the perception before this election was that it was a battle not even between the contestants, or let me just say among the contestants, but a battle between Oshiomhole, in this case, and Obaseki. We should not be so. So, Edo people were not given the privileged opportunity to be able to critically question those who will be saddled with responsibility of leading them in another 4 years. And we know that leadership starts and ends in this part of the world. You know, everything, development, whatever you want to analyze as regards a state, starts and ends with leadership. So I will expect him to be able to change that narrative and sit down there. Yes, some people would have given you the support, all the support that was needed. However, at the end of 4 years, you will be judged not based on these particular people who actually were, probably they had something to settle, but on your own performance as a Monday Opebolo in Edo State, just the way they've been judging your predecessors before now, based on performance. So I expect him to say that what will give me that leverage to be able to perform? Because it's on the strength of quality performance that you will be able to win even those who do not believe in you to be on your side. Now, the whole thing is that election in this part of the world is evolving. We have not gotten there, but maybe in the course of this interview, we'll be able to analyze some things that are really the actual problems in why somebody will emerge. However, there's this general perception that, no, this person didn't really win this election. This is a different issue entirely. But I can tell you categorically that if I were to be in the governor's elect shoes, I would want to see how I can reach out to all the parties involved, bring them on the table. And I'm not just saying you're doing it for the sake of just trying to be politically correct, or you're making it to look like, okay, this political razzmatazz, look, I'm trying. No, genuine effort. And when people see genuine effort, they know genuine effort. You reach out to them, you bring them on board, and you make them to understand that this is not about me. It's about how to take these states to the next
So
level.
what if the opposition are not willing to come on the table with the governor-elect? What happens? And then why does it always seem that when a party that is perceived to be dominant in a particular state doesn't win an election, it is assumed that something went wrong? Why is that always the narrative?
Let me start with the second question. The fact is this. Until we correct that foundation, there's a foundational issue. There's a systemic failure. It's not just with Edo State. And I can tell you, you will call me a prophet. In Ondo State, this will repeat itself.
When you say this, what do you mean by this?
That whoever emerges, there will always be accusations and counter-accusations that that person didn't win that election. And that is just because there is a general perception around our electoral process that has not been corrected. We finished the 2023 election. Those issues that were raised, as we speak, are yet to be corrected because there has not been any amendment to the electoral law. The electoral law that brought the present government is still what we are operating with. And those same issues will always continue. One, those saddled with responsibility of conducting elections, and I'm talking in this case the INEC chairman. I'm talking about, in this case, the REC. There were issues around the REC, right? That he happens to be the cousin of the FCT minister, stuff like that. As if he's got that, yes, maybe well, but it's perception. And the only way you can correct perception is to make the electoral process very transparent. For example, why should the president be the one appointing the INEC chairman and the regs? Somebody who is partisan, somebody who is also, how would I call, an interested party. It's like a referee who is officiating a football match, who is a supporter of one of the two, one of either the teams that is playing in that election. Now, that is what? Perception. Because in this part of the world, we have not evolved to that level where we believe that whether a president appoints an elect chairman, that person can rise above.
Stronger.
Yes, can rise above personal interest, primordial interest, to operate and, conduct himself based on integrity. We have not got it to that point. Now, that is just one. And I'll just mention another one quickly because of time. The issue of transmission of election results from the polling unit to the IREF.
Before the election,
they said it's upload, not transmission, right?
No, okay. Whichever you want. The issue is that we are trying a situation where we may be able to achieve a real-time, or upload. where you all can see, of course, when you follow the election, you see that at the back end, IRF, you see
For
the number
election
of results that have been uploaded. Now, that is not even, I'm not even talking about the upload. I'm talking about making it a compulsory requirement of the law.
Anyway,
that results that are not uploaded, you get what I'm trying to say.
You have raised quite a number of issues. You have raised quite a number of issues which, should I call them pre-election? Well, matters, because for us, election is now over as far as Edo is concerned, and we are looking at the conduct of what the conduct of both the winner and the losers should be going forward. Of course, the issues you have raised are valid, but these are issues for the National Assembly to deal with, and I'm aware that there is an ongoing constitution amendment process. So hopefully some of the issues, if not all of them, will be dealt with in this case and at this time. But let's quickly get to Kaduna, where we have Mohammed Kabir Isa joining us. He's a professor of governance and development who happens to be on sabbatical at the Department of Political Science, Nigeria Defense Academy. Thank you for staying with us. You've had the privilege of listening to the two guests here in the studio. What should be the attitude of the incumbent governor and then the new, the governor-elect as it is, towards achieving a smooth and peaceful transition so that at least there is a smooth handover and there is a smooth takeover of government?
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on the program once more. Now, I would like to start from a different perspective and look at the issues very differently. But first, let's understand that elections are a very major fundamental pillar of democracy. And the world over, we have come to accept that democracy is the best form of government that we have. And so elections is a major pillar. Election guarantees free transition of one government to another, or from one government to the same government. The most important element of it is that election guarantees peaceful transition from one government to another. And so this peaceful transition of governance should be done without acrimony, should be done without contestation that are afflicted by violence, all sorts of vices that are anti-democratic, because election is a fundamental of democracy. Now, democracy itself is an element of free enterprise, of rights and freedom to choose, and which is one of the fundamentals of modern societies that we have. I don't want to say capitalism or socialism or what have you, but modern societies have come to recognize that if you want to guarantee the right of citizens to freedom, to liberty, to choices, democracy is one major. And in democracy, elections are a major fundamental pillar that guarantees a smooth transition from one government to the other. Now, mark my word, a smooth transition, free of violence, free of acrimony, free of contestations that are afflicted by all forms of vices. Now, this presupposes the idea that in such societies, they have imbibed some value orientation, because laws come with institutions and processes. Now, these institutions and processes lead to some value orientation. Now, those value orientation lead to some culture. And in our society, we have such laws, we have such institutions, we have such processes, but we are yet to imbibe values, orientation that are actions, that are attributes of democracy. Now, so those paths that we have lived, we have lived several years under military, and we are yet to shed off those military values, those hierarchical forms of values that decisions transcend from top to bottom. And we are yet to, we still see election as some ethnic contestation, some religious contestations, not contestations for value, not contestations to, not contestations take and the right. So going forward, if elections in Nigeria, the last few years, our elections have been characterized by ballot snatching, mistrust. So if elections take place, a winner emerge, and in any election, a winner must emerge. Definitely, there has to be a winner. Be the winner. Now, once somebody is declared a winner, all of us who came to the ballot came with the vision and the mission to deliver services, to serve our people, to be of service, servants of people. And so, a winner should realize that he does not have all the best of ideas to lead. And that if all these contestants have ideas to lead society, are presenting themselves to lead, I think it's best to tap in from all these other people and say, okay, please, let's come and deliver services to Edo. Let's take Edo to the next level. Let's take Edo to the digital age where revolution. Society and the world is changing. We're in a globalized world, and we're at the heels of the fourth industrial revolution, the digital revolution. How will Edo State be part of this revolution, part of this change? So bring all of your ideas together. So a governor-elect, right from the start, informing his transition team over, will consider and reach out to them. Look, I want to deliver services. A sincere one. A candidate who does not have a godfather. A candidate whose godfather are the citizens of Edo, not somebody else dictating the tune. And dictating the tune, and somebody is doing the dancing steps. It's a contestant who wants to serve God and will invite all the other contestants. Look, I've been the winner, and you have my declaration, and my service does not take away your right to challenge the result of the election. But let's join hands and let's form a platform. Let's form and then you bring other stakeholders. Local government by local government, word by word, take suggestions. Form your transition committee to take over. The transition committee, you see, one major problem is that governors, new governors, incoming governors, see their transition committee as an investigation panel, not a panel that is envisioning, but investigating. That's another major problem. Most transition committees in recent times are like go find the former governor. What has he done? Whose money has he stolen? In fact, some transition committees are inviting commissioners to come and give them report. PAMSEC should come and give them report. And it becomes, a witch hunt, unfortunately. But transition be a platform, a basis to reach out. Then after the transition committee, when you take over government and you are forming government, reach out to the opposition party. Tell them to nominate people for either commissionership or special advisors and so on. And that way, you will have a cross-fertilized platform of stakeholders and beneficiaries reaching out to all the nook and crannies. Minority groups are represented, majority groups are represented, the fears of domination are allayed. Now, by doing that, reaching out, even those opposition parties who did not win will begin to feel assuaged and will begin to feel a sense of belonging that, this process, after all, has produced somebody that we can rely on. And it brings a sense of belonging in society. And in this present period of economic downturn, economic doom that we are currently experiencing, what we need is bringing people together, developing ideas, bringing, people to share ideas on how to take society out of the downturn, out of the doldrum, and deliver us to freedom, take us to liberty, and give people the right to benefit and change. Currently, people are going through some, stringent situations. And so what we need now are leaders with vision, people who could provide ideas, people who lead people, the people who delivered the children of Israel, from what they were. And so these are the type of leadership that we want, people with vision, with a mission and a purpose. So any incoming governor, any governor who has just won election, will look at the processes that will lead him to take over. How do I bring stakeholders together? How do I bring people together? And so it will not be a celebration. It will be an appreciation and an envisioning process. How do I deliver people? How do I bring people on board? You know, different parties, different sectors, and different people. And I think this is the kind of mentality, the kind of orientation, value orientation that we have. Unfortunately, our political values, our political culture is an underdeveloped political culture, a culture that is still, backward. The world is moving into the 21st century. We're still trying to battle to solve issues of 17th, 18th, and 19th century.
Many thanks, Professor Issa, for your opening short, on the conversation. You say our politicians, of course, still underdeveloped in certain parts, in certain areas. Maybe someone will want to agree with you. But, the point that you have raised about the governor-elect stretching a hand of fellowship to the opposition and probably bringing people from the opposition into his cabinet, many people would frown at that and say that's not possible in our climate. Because at the moment, there are people who are already set to go to court. And no matter how long you stretch your hand, they are not willing to take it because they feel that they should have, won the election, or they feel they can still take it back. So all of that, these are the issues. But, just to quickly respond to Martin Zigbiola, you talked about IRF. Just to clarify that in this particular election, Edo election, INEC actually uploaded over 99% of the election results. Out of the 4,519 words, over 4,400 words are on the IRF portal, and you can verify that.
No, I agree with you.
All right.
You probably, for that, let me just, as an addendum, I said it should be made a compulsory requirement of the law.
Okay,
yes.
We're fine. We'll get to
just
that.
an INEC.
It's just an
INEC.
All right,
yes.
let's
it
get to
cannot
Prof.
be the basis for annulling an election.
All right, let's get to Prof now. When Egbuola Martins was talking, he talked about quality performance, and then you ask what really is quality performance. In some places, quality performance is when you settle the godfathers and those who control the state. For some other people, quality performance could mean, it means anything. For some people, they will say as long as, a particular section, or if you like, the majority of the voters, those who have the voting strength, say, for example, for the case of Edo State, Edo South has 54% of the voting strength. So if you settle Edo South, you have performed or you have delivered. And some people would say, oh, well, it's time to go back to the campaign promises, go back to manifestos. But we have also heard that campaign promises, manifestos do not necessarily mean that there will be good governance. Just the same way a good wedding doesn't necessarily mean it will be a good marriage. So I want to hear your take. What really should Monday Okpebholo be doing at this time? What should be his plan as he plans to take over the government house seat, Dennis Osedebe Avenue, November 12th?
Well, first, from our experience, we can safely assume that usually party manifestos have no bearing on governance after elections, whether at the federal or state levels. That's something we all know. We also know that most of the time, to transition committees, their reports do not influence government policies once the governor has been sworn in. Okpebholo has won an election, officially announced, in an environment where the stakeholders are predominantly not political in the conventional political sense. Edo State is a state of very strong traditions, very old, strong traditions that have what you might call an outringing of political components. The traditional leadership in the state has a strong influence. Edo has a lot of big boys. Now, this governor has won an election. Those who lost to him are doing press-up for the next level of the fight. They are in the gym right now, developing their muscles. So there's no question of saying, oh, drop this transition, just invite people to take over. It could even cost him his life if he brings in too many people who fought against them. The political environment is not mature enough to easily run a rainbow cabinet. It's not. In fact, the only person who tried when Tambuwal emerged as speaker in spite of all the odds against him, he ran what you could call a rainbow House of Reps. In the party chairmanship, in the membership of his, committee chairman, he did very well in the way he spread it. Now, the issue of godfathers, Yes, Prof spoke about the need for the governors to be objective, serve public interest. If I'm a godfather, and my interest is to hold a state under my sway, as I'm leaving, I get somebody else to replace me who will become the hand I'm using to pick ube from the fire. It's not about the people at all. It's about my interest, it's about the amount of money I can make, it's about my ability to determine who takes over. But let's note that the misapplication of the concept of godfather does not remove the fact that godfather is actually originally a noble thing. Sir Ahmadu Bello was a godfather. Awo was a godfather. Zeke was a godfather. But what kind of godfatherism were they driving? Awo, you know him, education, knowledge as the basis for leadership. And there is this Bola Ige, a young man all over the place. And they are looking at him as elders. This boy is likely to grow into this in the next 5 years. They are nurturing, they are monitoring. The job of a godfather is to create the replacement generation for the ideology that will develop a state. If you look at the North too, so that godfatherism got disrupted in 1966 because the generation that should have taken over and the generation that should have been active was in limbo. They were shut down for 9 years. That's why when the military left after 9 years, Zeke came out at 75. By then, he would have retired. He would have been part of Nigeria's himself, Sir Ahmadu Bello, all of them would have been elder statesmen. Now, what point am I leading up to? We must first of all acknowledge a fact we keep pretending that doesn't exist. Number one, there are a lot of people in the state at all different levels whose motive for going into election is to make money. It's not to lead, it's not to become moral examples, it's not to create a better society. That's why, for instance, I'll spend 2 billion to take a seat, knowing that if you take all my takings for the year, it comes to about 800 million. So a money-making venture has become part of it. The other element in it is that you then find that the whole concept of public administration is also disconnected from the people. Budgets are read every year. What's the impact? What's the condition of the road? So bringing all of that together but focusing on it, these are the 3 or 4 points I'd like to make. Number one, the governor-elect is likely to meet legal battles. Number two, the stakeholders is going to try to ameliorate. It's not by giving appointment. He has to relate to the traditional institution, the big boys, the godfathers. Individually, they have interests. There was something I think Abiola was doing shortly before he got in. After he won that election and it was annulled, as you're sitting here, you find out that there's somebody at the gate. He's Moshood Abiola. And you're one of his arch enemies. You have to see him. He said, I've come. With all these quarrels, so what, okay, where is your own coming from? The governor has to do that. Edo State, even the smallest person in Edo State insists that you acknowledge him. So if he understands his environment, he must, even those most opposed to him, be in good terms with them, even if you are in court. And the incumbent governor still has capacity for some mischief. Let's not forget that. He's still governor until he hands over. And so let him not create a situation where the governor, where there will be a war between him and the governor. And in all of this, it's not him that will suffer, it's not the governor that will suffer, it will be Edo State. And then, as this is going on, let him also, okay, if this is how I came in, because the case will be in court for some months, after he's been sworn in, can he create a situation where people will be asking themselves, does it really matter if this man, would we really want him removed? Those are the things. But nobody should pretend that Edo is celebrating today. We've seen official comments by competent individuals and organizations raising issues about the credibility of the result. But then there's an electoral body that has taken a position on the matter. It's important there's no breakdown of law and order. It's important that those who lost but believe they shouldn't have lost conduct themselves in such a way that they're exemplary. That if you're fighting this man and you're acting like a rascal, no matter how angry you are, anger cannot be part of the instrument you put into the resolution and creation of public peace. So those are some of the things for Pebolo to put on to be seen to be putting on the table. He is walking a bit of a tightrope, if you ask me. It's a matter of What value would people now see emerging from him that will reassure them? If he's thinking of appointments, that's laughable. You know why? If you're going to appoint commissioners, if I remove you, I can also appoint commissioners. So it's a contest for power, state power, not office. So if they can see what chunk of the state power is at their disposal, the question of offices becomes secondary. And that's why you find that many who are opposed will remain opposed because they want to get the state. And that means the state resources, then they can allocate offices. It requires very sophisticated political thinking. He's navigating a treacherous terrain right now. And I hope he's fully aware.
You make it sound like it's a very difficult, very like the victory is something that's really so hot, for the governor-elect at the moment, and I don't know, he should just be on the edge with the victory. Because why I'm asking that is other governors who have also had this same experience, like Okwebolo, have survived. Yes. Obaseki survived 8 years. Oshomole, okay, yeah, let's begin from Oshomole. Oshomole survived despite, I'm sure you know the history, how the election was overturned. Osareme Osumbo, was taken down, and then he became governor. He survived. He did 8 years. Obaseki came, and we saw what happened after 4 years. How he turned against Oshomole and all of that. He's also survived another 4 years. You saw what happened with the deputy. So what makes this really so difficult?
No, I'm not saying it's difficult or different. I'm saying he should also make sure he survives. That's all. Right now, there's no guarantee that he will. Because you see, they shouldn't lose the gains they've made so far. After Obaseki, the second coming, there was quite some conspicuous shift of the political loyalties, the environment, a lot of things were different. It was impressive in its own way. The semi-takedown of Oshiomhole, which people thought was not possible, it was indicative of political evolution to some extent in Edo State. What I am telling the governor-elect is that, yes, there are governors who have survived, but some of them also survive with bruises all over their body. He shouldn't have bruises. He will need the people. You can be governor. It has happened in my state where, yes, a governor was there. He got impeached. He came back. He got impeached again. And the court said, no, he shouldn't have been impeached in the first place. The person who took over temporarily had bruises all over him. Eventually, he had to go. You see, we need to see the centrality of Edo. Edo demographics, Edo temperament, the Midwest is a variable in Nigerian politics that nobody seems to pay close attention to what it represents. There are different people in their own way. Like I said, you can't ignore an Edo man. Now election has taken place. You have substantial excitement by those who have won, but also substantial excitement by those who feel they are robbed. Manage it. Be the person to bust the illusion of division in Edo State. Create a situation where nobody will say, look, please, I'm tired of all of this. Let's give this man a chance. That's what I'm saying he should do. Not survive. You can survive, but you can't move, your legs are broken, your hands, but you're breathing. No. That's not what we want.
All right, thank you, Prof. Let me get back to Ebiola Martins. Given the fragile peace in Edo at the moment, what should be the part that political leaders of thought, traditional rulers, all sorts of leaders, what should be their role in all of this to stabilize the polity and to ensure that governance does not suffer?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. I think the roles of critical stakeholders, as you have mentioned, cannot be overemphasized. At the same time, I don't want us to just blow this Edo issue out of proportion. I think the governor actually addressed the state recent, calling for calm. And I think with that kind of disposition, I do not see any issue, that should warrant that we should be afraid that there is fragile peace in Edo State. Edo State, I've got some of the sophisticated voters. However, sometimes it's so underwhelming, which is a natural occurrence in all the states, that we do not have enough voters coming out to vote. Now, I think dialogue is key. Continuous engagement is key. And also it will be foolhardy to think that using appointment as a tool will be sufficient enough to solve the situation in Edo State. I think there are other things that the governor-elect should be looking at. Now, political parties have been playing their part under the instrumentality of the Inter-Party Advisory Council. We were in Edo State a week before the election. We embarked on serious stakeholders engagement, and we reached out to political leaders. Those who, for one reason or the other, could not come to the venue where they were invited for this engagement, and we went to them. Just like if Muhammad cannot go to the mountain will go to Muhammad. And in all, we're trying to achieve peace. And that has not ended. We continue to engage. And that is why, in this case, whether it's APC, whether it's PDP, whether it's Labour, and restricting just to the three major contestants as the result has actually reflected, they are our own. They are babies as IPAC. However, it doesn't mean if any of them does anything that is wrong, we will not call the attention to it. But it's within our purview to protect them all. I think, just as we have said, in terms of strong institutions, when you look at the traditional institution, you want to give credit to Edo State. And I know the Hoba, that is a symbol of the tradition in Edo State, would have started engaging and calling for peace. Then other stakeholders, in their own rights as well. I think there's been dialogue, engagement ongoing that will see how they can understand that elevating Edo State interest above national interest is what is sacrosanct. Somebody was saying the other time, in this whole thing, who benefits more at the end of the day? But time and time again, we have seen that it's only the political elites that benefits more than the citizens who even come out to vote. And it's time we channel that energy to see how we can begin to bring development to Edo people. That is what will make them happy. That is the ultimate. So I can assure you that, just as I've said from my own angle, which is IPAC, that we're already engaging. We have also not stopped engaging, and we're still reaching out to especially political leaders in the state. Right. And they're giving us assurances that anybody who is aggrieved, anyone who is aggrieved, will explore, the instrumentality of the law to vent their grievances.
All right, thank you very much, Dwella Martins. Let's get to Professor Kabir Issa now. While Mr. Martins was talking, he talked about who benefits from all of this, if the people of Edo State would benefit. Now, talking about the people, you want to begin from the election itself. Some will say, well, maybe there were few people. All right, it looks like Professor Issa is not with us, connected at the moment. We have a problem with that connection. But let's get to Professor Ikechukwu here. Thank God I have another prof here, so my question is just appropriate. Now, we're talking about the people of Edo State. Some want to say that first and foremost, the number of voters who came out to vote, didn't do well.
So high, yeah.
Yes, 38% out of 2 million people who have their PVCs who should have voted. That's number one. Then number two, the issues around the election. Some said, oh, well, in some cases, a vote buying and all of that. You say, why would the voters also engage in such activity? But now it's post-election. They have a governor. How can the people support, the governor-elect to ensure that he delivers? What role would the people play in all of this, just so that the dividends of democracy gets to them too?
I'll talk about three things. One, how the people can support the governor. Two, the question of the percentage of voters who came out. There is no platform called the people. Whenever you're speaking of people, you're either talking about individuals from a village, a community, a local government, or members of a church, or members of a mosque, etc. So there are power centers in every society that rally their own demographics. If I want to go to Kano and talk to Kano people, I can go and talk in the stadium. Some will come, even if the stadium is full. It doesn't mean I've spoken to anybody. But if I'm going to Kano and the mayor is sitting with me in the stadium, I'm going to a particular community and they're gathered in the hall, I've come up to tell them something and I'm sitting there, they've been told to come, they're there. And then the district head comes to sit down. Before I open my mouth, I have 60% endorsement. That's what we overlook in our political communication. The people, and that's also the challenge of activists. The people of Nigeria, there's nowhere they will gather. Who will gather? If you say the people in my village, all of them will come out. Who will talk and about what? There must be a town union president. There must be a family head. There must be a kindred leader. So when you're talking about getting the people to support him, it means accessing the various power centers, their leaders. If you secure their understanding and endorsement, their own demographics will be available to you to influence in some form. That's one thing. Then the question of the number, and we've done this practically. When we did it for a state, we even went to market leaders, traditional rulers, youth leaders, women leaders, registered. By the time we are done and we called a People's Summit, every one of them was represented with their members. That's how a politician comes and makes a speech in the village square. I'll leave my shop and come to listen to you in the village square. When we finish, it's only what I get from my shop that I'll eat, isn't it? So I have no real incentive. Or at the state capital, you to hold a town hall meeting. It's people like me that will come. I'm not the average Nigerian. Nobody here is an average Nigerian. Our access to the people is very limited, and that's what the elite overlooks. So those power centers are there. Now, the question of the number of voters who turned out. Let's also note, in fact, let's go back to Athens. If I am a man, married man with 3 children, and I have a plantation and there are 300 staff there, on the day of the election, only 5 citizens will come out. Those who are not slaves. Now, in the elections we've had, even the one of the president, they said, oh, only this small percentage voted, therefore, how can we say Tinubu has legitimacy? Let us get real. If any of the other candidates had won, would it not have been based on the same statistics? So sometimes we prance off with delusional claims about illegitimacy. Informed voter turnout. I registered, I have my PVC. I knew the data, I didn't go to vote. I'm the one who has made myself a nominal voter. The one who is a substantive voter went out to vote. That's the result. That's the person interested in outcomes. So nobody should delegitimize a winner if he got the actual number of votes. You've said it's democracy, isn't it? The government, you're talking about majority. It must be majority of those who voted, not majority of those who registered. Then the other worry now is, what is responsible for political apathy? That's a different set of problems. The people may have lost interest in the state, in the electoral process, etc., so they don't even want to bother. That's different from those who voted. So let's not drive that argument about, oh, you know, it was only 10% that voted. Were the others detained in their houses by policemen? Informed participation is what makes democracy credible. When they say democracy is the best form of government, for me, that claim is open to argument. Because simple majority cannot give you good governance if that's an ignorant majority. I have a surgery. Oh, it's inflamed appendix, so I'll need appendectomy. And you call everybody in NTA to vote. Who will operate on me? I say, no, I like the doctor. That man is from my village. He doesn't know anything about human biology, not to talk of surgery. So if you use democracy, once he follows me to the theater, you must arrange my burial. Yes? By my dear brother from my village. So let's also know that informed participation, the elite has a critical role to defend democracy, not the masses. If you watch the behavior of the masses, that's the end of democracy. It's the elite, it's enlightened intervention that restrains people from behaving badly. So all these claims, you know, the Nigerians must come and sell what they want. A good deal of the time, Nigerians need to be told what they need, which may not be what they want. They need good governors, they need responsible leaders, but they want you to give them 20,000 to vote for them. Want is different from need. So leadership has the responsibility of political education of the people. That's what being abdicated. And that's why the demands of the people keep following the wrong path. You're made a minister, I come tomorrow and say, can you give me 5 million? I want to start a business. Your friends say you are an idiot. You'll be minister for 3 years, for 3 months. We are not seeing anything. Why is your own different? Your village people call you together and say, is it that we didn't train you well? We see how ministers behave. You're just looking like a schoolboy. What's your problem? Now, those wrong demands, it will also take leadership that does not respond to the wrong demands to change the people, not the people. If I'm contesting an election, I'm not going to snatch any ballot box. It's the people I will pay. Why do they accept it? So some form of orientation, a leadership intervention that keeps telling the people this is beneath you, that will elevate the people from the normal inclinations of the gutter to a better approach and perspective.
All right, Professor K.K. Chukwu. I can see that Professor Muhammad Issa is there. I'm not sure whether we should go on this break just yet and come back to Professor Issa. I don't know what my director thinks. All right, so we'll pause here and go for that break so that when we return, we'll take on Professor Muhammad Issa. But meanwhile, let's thank Professor K.K. Chukwu, who I understand is leaving us to go for another engagement. So we thank you very much for your time on the program, and we hope to see you some other time soon. Please, let's go on this break and return shortly. Stay with us.
The federal government of Nigeria wants vandals of national assets, electricity transmission towers, cables, and other facilities to desist from this act of sabotage. Vandalism is a serious crime punishable under the law. Vandalizing electrical equipment will affect millions of Nigerians, including your loved ones. Remember that national assets belong to all of us, hence the need to protect them. Report all cases of suspicious movement around electrical facilities to security agencies. When you see something, say something. This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation in collaboration with the National Counter-Terrorism Center, NCTC, Office of the National Security Advisor.
I think Amaka should just move out of the house. Yes.
No. Standing out of the house is not the right thing to do.
Oh, there you go again with your sentimental family stuff.
Baby, if our aim is to stop this affair, it is best achieved under our roof.
You do something terrible and you'll be acting innocent.
What are you going on about?
Don't ask me that question again. You couldn't even control yourself in the presence of our visitors.
What are you accusing me of, woman?
My son, I don't know how serious you are with my daughter, but there's something that needs to be done urgently before you move any further.
Anything, just anything, just say it. I'm ready to do anything.
There is a spell that needs to be removed.
A spell?
Family forever, the story of our lives.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
You have to move from the point where you protect and defend your religion to a point where you also recognize the rights of the other person, of the other religion, and protect it. So if I am protecting my own territory and my own people and trying to emphasize their rights and protect their rights, I should also be thinking about how to protect the rights of the others.
Both Islam and Christianity
recognize and defer to God, and both recognize the temporariness of the life of this world, and that ultimately we all go back to God for the day of reckoning, when everybody will render an account of his life on this temporary abode.
The race to qualify for the biggest football competition in Africa is on, the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. 48 teams in 12 groups, with only the top 2 teams in each group qualifying for the African Cup of Nations in 2025 in Morocco. Don't miss the action, suspense and unrivaled coverage on AfroSport TV and its affiliates partners across Nigeria, starting from September 2024 to November 2024. AfroSport, your freedom of sport.
All right, thank you for staying with us. This is still Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA, and we've been discussing managing election victory. Of course, that's after the recently concluded Edo State governorship election. Now let's head to Kaduna, where we have Professor Muhammad Isa waiting. Prof, thank you for your patience. Now, some of the issues that have been raised around this election, and of course that are often raised around elections in the country, is the issue of stronger institutions, because if there are stronger institutions, it has a way of inspiring the confidence of the people. And so you find that when election results are announced, the people just fall in line. They have this trust, they have this confidence that what it is that they voted is what they have found. How do we begin to grow our institutions, which will in turn boost the confidence of the people, the electorate, in electoral processes and in governance?
But we need to understand, build institutions are embodiment of values of institutions reflect who we are and our thinking and view and vision that of our society. Institution reflection of as a people. So record the institution because it's part of society of an orientation of advance,
lost the connection with Professor Isa. We just hope that would get better.
So
I'd like you to respond to that question Professor Isa was about to answer.
Okay. You see, the role of building stronger institutions, as the case is entirely within the purview of our political elites. However, you see, the role that citizens will play in building our stronger institutions will only be complementary to whatever role our leaders are willing to play. Now, the way it is, we are still evolving. Part of some of the problems we have been the issue of having very weak institutions that is at the beck and call of whomever is the CNC, and in the case of the component units, the governors. Now, until we have institutions that are independent, running solely on the mandate that has been bestowed on them by the Constitution, we'll keep on having problems. How come when, for example, the EFCC wants to investigate a particular corrupt individual, as soon as probably the corrupt individual is in harmony with the ruling party, and this is not just a common phenomenon with the current ruling party, and that is how it's been in the past. You have a situation where, according to one of our political leaders, their sins are forgiven, and you hear nothing about it. It's because we have very weak institutions that cannot operate independently.
But why is that so?
Why is that so? It's part of the foundational problem that I highlighted earlier on, and we don't want to revisit it. Our problem is this: we have a very faulty foundation. Rather than us putting out that foundation and building a concrete foundation to start building, we are building on that faulty foundation, believing that it will be all right. It won't be okay. It won't. So the issue is going back. What is actually this foundational problem? The foundational problem is our constitution. Our constitution as it stands happens to be, look how the constitution was already put together by the military, because they were in a hurry to leave on account of the pressure from both within and without.
But then, that's why you have room for amendments. So over time.
Now, this wishy-washy, every 4 years, food for the boys kind of constitutional review will not cut it. Who were the people who were beneficiary of this constitution? How do you empower? Is that we are here to have leaders with genuine interest of the country. The constitution has enabled a situation where there is a state capture by the elite, and they are not willing to change those very things that will make these institutions to be strong and independent, because they are beneficiaries of this. So it's like putting it in the hands of saying we want a situation where we will have somebody like a Nelson Mandela of this world. And as it stands, we are here to get such individuals that will say, okay, look, I want to sacrifice, what they call class suicide. They're not ready to commit it for the greater good of all.
All right, let's
until we get to that point when we have people who will say, yes, let's revisit this, whether I benefit from it or not, it's about the future generations. And we begin to work on all these amending relevance. It should be holistic, not the one you pick and choose every 4 years, making it food for the boys. No.
All right, Mr. Agbela Martins, let's leave all of those faulty foundation, like you have said, and continue to build, hoping it doesn't collapse one day.
I can assure you.
Well, the hope is that
don't want to do the needful to collapse.
The hope is that it won't collapse. But let's look at the way forward. We're here now. I know people have decided, and as it stands, November 12, of course, the new governor will be sworn in. What policy priorities do you think this administration needs to put forward, to change the narrative in Edo State?
Okay, number one, reconciliation. Genuine reconciliation should, for me, be a policy priority. The state is polarized right now, so that will be his first task, and as a matter of policy. Then you now have to visit fundamentals, such as education, such as health, power, agriculture. And I'll tell you why it's very important. In measuring the Human Development Index, which is a composite statistics for education, per capita income, and life expectancy, education and health is at the heart of it. And that is how you determine how well citizens are faring. That is the best measurement. It's not by handing them palliatives. No, it won't cut it. It's by deliberately investing in their education. Because that itself is the future. Now, you don't play politics with these four sectors if you must succeed. As a leader, as a governor. If those that will give you the best results are outside your party, or you want to get them from any part of the world, they are wonderful Edo citizens around the world doing great things. My advice for the governor will be go and source for the best for these three sectors I have mentioned. Don't play politics with it. Even if it means the best and will have to come from the opposition political party, go and law that person and bring, because this is the pivotal strength of whatever you want to achieve. Others can come in. So education is key from the primary to the secondary to the tertiary level. Health is also key. We have seen situations where health is pretty expensive, where we do not even have the basic infrastructure in health to be able, to help citizens, because elites have got alternative. Once they have little headache, they are out of the country. What about those citizens who are living in villages, who cannot have affordable health care? So you have to make health care qualitative and affordable. And in every part of the world, developed climes, they subsidize these things. That is the beauty, because they know citizens on their own, average citizens cannot afford it. Education is expensive, health is expensive, and that is why government deliberately invests in it and subsidize it heavily. Then agriculture. You see, with agriculture, you've got the propensity to be self-sufficient. Once you take hunger out of the equation, then you are balanced to be able to drive development. I can tell you that Edo State, if they are to invest heavily in agriculture, I'm not talking about this subsistence farming kind of arrangement. I'm not talking about just giving fertilizers. I'm talking about deliberate public-private partnership that will see mechanized farming. You see, the beauty of agriculture is that you can afford to generate employment for the youth. You make agriculture lucrative. You see, the government have got to be intentional. It's not, no. If you feel the best you can get is even a foreigner to help you pilot it, to give you a dream. Sometimes you might have, most of this manifesto, let me not lie to you, some people just write it. It's not what some of this
intend to do.
Yeah, it's not what they believe in or what they intend to do. It's just a matter of, let's just give them something, to look and talk about. Now, election is over. We are talking about face governance squarely, right, if you must achieve. And it's very, very important that he invests in agriculture.
All right, interesting. Health, education, agriculture, and incidentally, power. Well, I add infrastructure because, unfortunately, this is what some politicians say are the lucrative ministries. Anyway, we'll leave that for another day. Let's understand that Professor Mohammed Isa is back with us. Prof, I had asked earlier about, building stronger institutions, which Gbeola Martins tried to respond to. I don't know if you have a contrary view or is something you want to also still give a shot.
Yes, I slightly have a contrary view with him with regards to, the problem of constitution. Really, in fact, of constitutional, no matter the amount of and the and the ethics of people, there will still be a problem. Again, and their way of thinking, then you, irrespective of whatever change, we need the Chinese. When they had their revolution, they sat and decided that they must be a cultural revolution first before technological revolution. Political, there will be our child, and who is Nigerian? How to secure Nigeria? How do you want to build Nigeria? Nigeria do we want year 2050? And our population is estimated to be 400 million by the year 2050. And therefore, we are going to move from the 6th to the 3rd most populous country in the world. From 6th third. So how are we going to build that Nigeria? What type of Nigeria? What do we want to see in the next 30 years? What vision of Nigeria? And so we need culture called culture, in Nigerian attitude, in a love of Nigeria. Our leaders, our national leaders, Sardauna, now we need to build people. It has to come from political leaders. Now that takes me to the issue of
challenge with the Zoom connection with Professor Muhammad Kabir is quite unfortunate. I just hope that we can get that better and hear some of his thoughts. But yes, of course, Guela Martins, you're going to respond to the part that we could hear him clearly. But when you spoke about the policy direction of the government of Edo State, you talked about education, health, power, and agriculture. I'm surprised you didn't mention security. Because, that state, for example, in agriculture, in the past, it used to be the hub for a lot of cash crops. You talk about cocoa, you talk about cashew. There's also rice in that state. There's a Lushi rice, Akpoma rice. I mean, it used to be a very good, viable state as far as agriculture was concerned. But at the moment, insecurity is doing a lot of harm. Of course, we know that before insecurity, got to this dimension, there were other challenges that, stopped all of that. But, talking about security and then looking at issues of cult groups, different kinds of security threats in that state, don't you think that is one area that the governor or the government, should think about addressing while you respond to professors, whatever? And then also, what do you think civil society can do in peace building post-election? I'm asking that because, before Prof. Ikechukwu left, he talked about different press releases by different civil organizations, talking about how the election went and all of that. I mean, election is way past now. What can civil society groups do just to ensure that there is peace and calm, after election?
Okay, yes, I think the role of civil society groups in strengthening and deepening democracy can also not be overemphasized. They play a critical role in actually engaging government, in engaging citizens, and it's also ensuring ultimately that there is absolute peace, which is the first cardinal position that every informed civil society wants to pursue. In this case, civil society have also come out. In doing that, it will also not take their rights to be objective, which is very key. They've got to be very objective, because when it's through objectivity that we can begin to know what the issues are and how they can be addressed. And I think in this case, in the Edo election, so many civil society organizations have come out with their preliminary report on what they perceived has happened in Edo State, and it's within entirely their right to be able to do so. However, there are also some other civil societies that have got contrary opinions, which is also good. It's good for the engagement, it's good for the civic space. And what they can do ultimately is that irrespective of the position of any civil society group, we should know that the ultimate should be however aggrieved you are. We should not fail to explore the judiciary as a means to be able to vent and get whatever we feel is our right. There's no room for violence. There's no room for, and so that should be the heart of every position, every opinion, so that people will know the appropriate channel to be able to seek redress. And I think that is what, in my own opinion, civil society should be doing in terms of shaping opinion and perception, to say, yes, you may agree, you may disagree. However, whether you agree or disagree, ultimately, the only place you can get your rights back if you feel you've been shortchanged is through the judiciary, and that is the position of IPAC as a council. And that is one. On the issue of security, security is sacrosanct. You can't, it's not something you wish away, you know. However, that takes me back to the issue of this foundational issue that sometimes our political elites don't want to talk about it. Now, as it is, the current strength of the police force is barely 400,000 naira. I mean, I say 400,000, 400,000 personnel. In comparison to how many? Over 250 million citizens. And out of that less than 400,000, we have lots of them attached to VIPs. Our VIPs. So how many is actually remaining to police Nigeria as it is? Now, you look at the systemic rot in terms of corruption. What has been the level of investment in security over the years in comparison to what we are losing to corruption? And when I say the constitution is key, as a key component in addressing this systemic failure, you know, probably the prof actually may not have gotten the full context in terms of my explanation. And this is it. Is when you are talking about cultural revolution cannot be built on nothing. As it is, you know, when Nigeria got independence, we started off with what? A parliamentary system of government. Today, we are practicing what? A presidential system of government. The truth is that a presidential system of government in the current context of Nigeria might not be the ideal system of government for the country. Because number one, it's too expensive. It has given our political class this level of entitlement. Why do we need a bicameral legislature in the first place? Cultural revolution will not address that. So you need to address some of these fundamentals, which must be a situation. Okay, look at the one they pick and choose. Imagine how long it took us in the issue of decentralizing power. For example, what they were doing before now is, even if states have the capacity to generate power, they have to transmit to national grid before they now bring it back. It doesn't make any sense. We used to have regional government. Then you can measure within that few years that we had regional government. Look at the rate of development, accelerated development, in comparison to a presidential system of government that we've had now, especially this Fourth Republic, like over 2 decades. We had the first TV station under the then Western region, even before countries like France and Ireland. The stadium that was built, the Cocoa House, Obafemi Awolowo University, you can see the competition also, it sparked up what? Competition. Healthy competition. In the sense that other regions were now what? Battling to capture. That brought development. So it's time for us to also see that, look, the population we used to have then is no longer the population we have now. We shouldn't have a static constitution. We should have a constitution that is flexible enough to allow for, you know, a kind of change that in components will not be stifled, but they will have capacity to develop at their rate and be accountable to their citizens. So that anything that is happening in my village, I will not be calling on President Tinubu. I will be holding my governor responsible. I will be holding my local government chairman responsible. Why must the president, through the Attorney General of the Federation, have to go to be able to seek interpretation to the constitution that has finally given financial autonomy to local government? Why was the constitution why was it not less ambiguous for us to be able to interpret clearly that local government? So you can see some of the teething problems that the constitution must have to address before we now begin to build on the issue of cultural revolution and other things that we feel will help the nation to grow at the pace we want the nation to grow.
Indeed, Egbeolama's conversation. We've talked about a lot of things, and I do hope that going forward as a nation, as individuals, as institutions within the nation, that we'll all take a cue and begin to do things better than we have done it. Thank you very much, National Organizing Secretary, Inter-Party Advisory Council, Governance and Development, who is currently at the Nigeria Defense Academy. Unfortunately, connection to you denied us as much as we would have wanted to glean from you this morning, but we appreciate your time nonetheless. We thank you for your time and thoughts.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you.
And of course, earlier we signed off Professor Oke Ikechukwu of Development Specs Academy. We appreciate his time here as well. And that's Good Morning Nigeria. We thank you very, very much for watching. Hopefully we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye from me. I'm Victor Azu.
And I'm Ian Ray John. Remain tuned to the NTA.
We often do not need to point out a friend. It is obvious because of a great bond in between. But what happens when that bond is broken? The opposite is often ignited. Hate and acrimony brew. This could easily have been averted if we showed love and care ab initio. This is the story of man and man's best friend, the dog, and other pet animals. Do we deserve to be called their friends? How do we feel them? How do we feel them? Hey, all the pet owners and pet lovers, get in the house this Wednesday, 25th of September 2024, and let's have that talk about you and your pet animal, only on Conversations. Time is 9 a.m. Conversations, reaching you on the network service of the NTA. Join us.
Embark on a delectable journey of Nigeria, where flavors come to life in Niger's food adventures.
From the savory goodness of akara to the sumptuous puff-puff, Nigerian food is a gastronomic delight.
Stay tuned as we uncover more mouth-watering delight.
Wow, look at that. Until recently, I had no idea what a pangolin was. But this thing is strong. It's a small mammal covered with scales made of keratin, just like our nails. Strong scales, man. The scales has no medicinal value, yet the demand for the scales and the meat is driving the pangolins to extinction. This one's name is Igai, and it was rescued from illegal bushmeat trade. It's going back into the wild where it belongs to keep the ant population in check. Home sweet home. Please say no to illegal bushmeat and report wildlife crime, because poaching steals from us all.
This is the network service of the NTA.